See his staff?
Yes.
The Z, and follow down the staff about 1.5 feet above his hand. You see that kind of odd little section?
Swole node.
That is duct tape.
They broke it during production.
All right.
I'll get you next time, Gadget.
You asked for it.
You got it.
Here's season 2 of Linkara's Mighty Morphin. Well, not season 2 of Power Rangers, the Mighty Morphin era. Second episode of Linkara's History of Power Rangers.
Yes.
Dan sends his well wishes, but he cannot be here but he'll be here for more of these. He's very familiar with the first few seasons anyway, so it's fine.
Trini, I miss you.
Oh my god, Lord Zed has access to the other world of Silent Hill? No wonder he looks so freakishly awesome! Though he must have hired an interior decorator or something at some point. This version of the other world looks pretty well lit and even has some decent foliage. Ladies and gentlemen and others, welcome to Season 2 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Originally, I was only going to re-record the first season video and leave it at that. However, I've decided, screw it. I made a few other mistakes and omissions and crap like that, so I'll just play it by ear. The season begins with a 3-parter, originally aired in prime time no less.
I have to stop it there, because every time I get a chance to talk about this or interrupt somebody, I'll do it. This was a big deal. I don't know if you remember this. You're a few years older than me and Dan, which is fine. It's fine. It's all right. We're all kids at heart here. It was this 3-parter over 3 weeks, and X-Men the Animated Series 3-parter that played either it was after this, because they knew this was X-Men played before, because they knew everybody was going to hang around for this. But I mean, your Star Trek: The Next Generation, Roseanne, all those shows, that's your normal afternoon, after homework, pre-dinner, post-dinner. This was 8 p.m. prime on a Friday night. You think any of us kids went outside these 3 weeks? Hell no. This was must-see, edge-of-your-seat stuff, because the first 2 episodes was massive cliffhanger, massive-er cliffhanger, and then the conclusion.
Which has the main characters participating in a dirt bike race for charity. Say, you know what I did
Mutiny.
in high school? I was on speech team, I was in several
The
musicals,
Mutiny.
I played violin, but you know what I didn't do? Dirt bike racing! I mean, what the hell is up with Angel Grove? We frequently see the teenagers doing every friggin' thing under the sun, and yet still have free time to work on homework, save the world, and simply hang out at the juice bar. Oh,
And in the movie, they skydive.
They teach their own classes at the juice bar, be it martial arts, dance, or gymnastics, and are all
Hip-hop
working
keto.
staff on charity. It astounds me that this is the conception of high school life that was presented to us. Nobody could do all this stuff just in their high school years.
Couldn't wait to get to high school. If this is going to be this awesome.
Anyway, season 2 is where we're introduced to a new villain to replace Rita. There's only so much leverage you can get out of the same stock footage of these characters deciding to make monsters. And the instant you see our new villain, you know why people preferred him. This is Lord Zed, Emperor of Evil and Rita's boss. You'll recall that last time Rita was referred to as an Empress of Evil, so I'm not sure how one has a hierarchy when one is supposed to be the supreme ruler.
Oh, there's a whole...
We'll later learn that even Zed has a boss. Just look at this guy. This is what H.R. Giger would have created if he wanted to make a supervillain. Metallic exoskeleton surrounding exposed muscle, a red visor,
What kind of mess is
carrying
this?
fluid all over. Clearly, he looks like a more serious threat than the sorceress who has the same fashion consultant as Queen Amidala.
I was gonna say Madonna.
Can't fault his logic about why he's taking over again.
Only her cones are up here.
As stated before, the
They
show
weren't
is
children, they were
Sentai
teenagers.
footage to use, so while they
High
just
schoolers
used
even.
sword footage from a different Sentai series, Lord Zed was created purely as an American villain. He brings with him his own army of putties, silver ones with Z emblazoned on their chests. However, that vanity of Zed's is the putty's downfall.
Just gotta hit him in the
Striking
chest.
that Z will destroy them. While that seems like an obvious weakness, it should be noted that it's not like you can just poke it and take them out. They really have to punch it hard for it to register, converting them into glowing clay stop motion that flies off into the ether. Gotta love how they clean themselves up after they're destroyed, leaving only the fresh scent of pine. Zed, as punishment for her failure, returns Rita to her space garbage can and tosses her out into the recesses of space, where I'm sure she'll never bother anyone again.
That's
Bulk
right.
and Skull's next stage of character growth begins here as well. After getting rescued by the Rangers from Zed's putties, they decide they're going to try to figure out who they are under their helmets. I'll get more into that a bit later, but suffice to say, what raises my eyebrow is that for all their talk to the teens about how much they hate goody-goods, they loudly proclaim their love and admiration for the Power Rangers. What also indicates a major shift in the season from the previous one is that, for the first time, we see the Rangers without their helmets on, but still in the suits. As a little kid, my jaw dropped seeing them like that. After all, it's taken them 61 episodes for them to show something like this, though for the life of me I can't figure out why, since they've had the suits before on the show in non-Sentai footage. And just to show the sheer level of seriousness this new situation brings, for the first time since Tommy got his power infusion, we see signs of his powers failing, indicating that the temporary extension he got on the Green Ranger powers is starting to run out. Zed summons a monster called Piranha's Head that freezes the Zords as they're summoned, then takes control of the Dragon Zord and Tyrannosaurus Zord. Zordon explains that the only chance they have is to get new Zord.
That was the cliffhanger for part 1. He froze all the Zords and took over the Dragon Zord and Tyrannosaurus. And the team's like, oh my god, we're going to get destroyed. And that's when it's like, to be continued. And I'm running around screaming, Mom, they're going to kill them. She couldn't give two shits. That's great, honey. It's great. Go to bed.
Go to bed, Brad. These beers ain't gonna drink themselves.
Transformed from the old ones. Equipped with the power of Thunder, Zordon says, whatever the hell that means.
Thunder.
What's interesting about this compared to later seasons
I'd
is
like
that
to
the
introduce you to my
Rangers
friend
aren't
Lionel.
actually using powers
Take the
themselves,
sword?
just new Zords. I'm guessing
Oh,
the
you said
reason behind
sword.
this is twofold. One,
Sword.
so they don't have to pay
Sword.
extra for new footage like Jew 2 stuff.
Phoenix!
And two, it allows them to keep the current Ranger suits. The Zord footage came from the Sentai after Jew Rangers.
Die
called
Ranger.
Die Rangers. And while many have said before that they wish the costumes would have changed, I actually am happier that they kept them. While the Die Ranger suits are pretty awesome looking, they're a radical departure from the design of the
One of them
Jew
uses a
Ranger
broom.
suits. It's likely that Saban will keep the Mighty Morphin brand consistent for as long as
Whee!
possible. Power Rangers have become wildly popular, and shaking things up too much,
I like the
especially
color
for toy
schemes.
sales,
Oh, yeah.
can cause
Die Rangers,
problems.
but yeah,
That
just the whole
consistency for over 3
skirt thing.
seasons and-
You could have made it work because they have white.
Oh no! I'm just saying. I didn't like the whole skirt thing.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just
Oh, on the girls.
yeah, just the whole superhero thing. Just a unitard.
Have we discussed why the Yellow Ranger doesn't have a skirt and the pink one does?
Because I want to say in the Japanese one, it was a man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to jump ahead 28 seasons. I forget what it is. What the name of it is. I think it's Dino something. One of the girls gets a green power. These later seasons, from what I could tell, they start off with like 1 or 2 Rangers, and then they have a few episodes. I haven't sat down to watch them, so I'm completely guessing. Because this one starts out with 3, like, it starts out with pink and blue, and then they meet red, and then they meet black and green.
Okay.
Green is a girl, and when she does her thing, has a skirt. Well, she just rips it off. She goes, I've never been a skirt person anyway. To get around that
That works.
it works.
over 150 episodes is probably why Mighty Morphin has remained the most remembered part of the franchise in pop culture. However, the downside of not using the Die Ranger suits is that it created a bit of an issue for the
Please, sir.
Sentai. See, they hadn't quite run through all of the Jew 2 footage yet, and, well, they already paid for it, so they decided to keep using it. Basically, this meant that Zord footage couldn't show the Ju-2 monsters interacting with the Megazord, and Die Ranger fight scene footage couldn't show the monster interacting with the Rangers in person unless it was American footage. And there are occasional moments, usually only a split second or so, where you can tell in certain shots that something's wrong. Whoops. Anyway, Billy and Trini create a device to jam Paracha's head's abilities, but Zed sends the Zords back into the Earth in the hopes of destroying them. Fortunately, despite this little stock footage attack, they're able to save the Dragon Zord
that was part 2.
Zords to create the Thunder Zords. Sadly, because of Tommy's lack of power, he can't support a new Zord.
Oh, Tommy.
This was one of the hardest toys to put together and keep together.
Oh.
Because the Pterodactyl Firebird Thunder Zord, like, wraps around the waist and the wings would never stay clipped. Man.
Like that stupid game, Feed the Pig. You put cheeseburgers or whatever in the pot. You gotta pump it.
Which is
He ate 2 burgers.
As I alluded
I wonder
to
if they'll
last
show
season,
it.
the individual Thunder Zords are really not worth mentioning since they never use them on an individual basis, just forming the Megazord. The only exception is the Red Dragon Thunder Zord, which has an alternate human mode that can fight pretty effectively on its own. The Thunder Megazord is pretty cool in its own right too, looking like some kind of big shogun or samurai thing. Anyway, to make a long story short, they decide it's time to can this bitch.
Tommy, can this bitch!
And they defeat it.
Fish.
Poor Zed takes it well.
You failed! You simply twit! You failed! You all failed! Just like you failed before!
If it seems like I spend a lot of the plot analysis following Tommy, it's only because his character tends to cause the most change in the early seasons. Sure, the one-off episodes develop the characters somewhat, but Tommy losing or gaining his powers tends to be the only story that continually gets brought up and have any impact on the narrative. As such, more and more we see that Tommy's powers are running dry, and Zed makes it a point to try to exhaust.
It was devastating to watch, but it's so funny to look at now.
Failures, but also to just reduce the threat of the Rangers. A running subplot that really went nowhere is Richie, a new kid in school who basically exists to give Trini someone to pine over. Well, to be fair, he also existed for another reason I'll get into. Richie is quite possibly the blandest of any character on the show, with the only exception being the occasional one-off character, or some future Rangers I could mention, but at least those future characters actually contributed to the show's plot. Sitting here, having watched every episode he's been in, I cannot recall a single thing Richie actually did besides for stand and smile. Basically, he was...
I thought when I was a kid, because they always were color-coded, whether they were in the suits or civilian. Zach had black, Billy had blue, Trini had yellow, Kimberly had pink, Jason had red, Tommy had green. Richie always wore red. And I would always go, I'd have to tune in. What's going to happen to Jason? Huh?
Eye candy for the female audience, though I can't imagine
and then
why
Zach's
they needed him for
cousin?
that, when even Billy has a physique that male models
I think it's
get
his
jealous
cousin.
over. Once his only role in the narrative is fulfilled, he pretty much disappears, having had no impact on anything.
The
They
whole,
could have kept him
the whole
around,
Ricky
made
Martin
him
thing.
a love interest, or done
Yeah,
anything.
I'm too
with
old
him.
for Menudo. Might as well try my luck
Zach's
somewhere
son
else.
Curtis had a big
Curtis,
impact
that's
on
right.
a lot of some episodes, even though he was only in half the episode.
Angela was the
Richie
girlfriend?
Farewell, Richie. You're not even mentioned on this season's Wikipedia page. Back to the Tommy Oliver show featuring the Power Rangers. The subplot of his powers running out comes to a conclusion in Green No More, a two-parter where he finally loses them completely. Zed plans to drain what remains of the Green Ranger powers to fuel a crystal that will power his own gang of Dark Rangers. The Dark
call it
Rangers are
kryptonite
actually a gang of
throw it
five
into
jackasses
Gotham.
from high school that even Bulk and Skull are afraid of. And
It's simple. We train the Green Ranger.
under this concept,
And then on to the
really
blue,
ends up
the
being
black and the yellow and the pink.
Sure, in
They
season
actually
one,
had all
we
those
saw
candles.
transform
I mean,
into
all those
Rangers.
crystals at another
But the promise
episode.
of a group of Power Rangers equally as dangerous as the team wouldn't come to true fruition until Power Rangers
In space, yes.
But we'll get to that eventually. However, the point I would like to
Hey,
make with this concept
my
is
bucket.
that Zed is thinking more strategically and being a bigger threat. While Rita's mutant Rangers were simply putties with some more enhanced abilities, they were pretty easily dispatched. Taking the 5 teenagers with attitude concept and twisting it on its head shows that Zed was truly a match for the team. It's a pity that when you actually see these doofuses in their Dark Rangers costumes, it doesn't invoke horror like looking into a dark mirror, but instead laughter at how ridiculous they are. I mean, just look at these things. Face masks with a red cloth mouth and eyes glued on. Some of them don't even look like they're on straight. Did they blow the budget designing Lord Zed and didn't have anything left over for these losers? I mean, come on. Give them a spray-painted motorcycle helmet at least. Give me $300 and I can make a more convincing costume. Why even bother putting them in the costumes if you weren't going to bother with any effort? Meanwhile, Tommy's powers have been completely
But this is where they got the idea for Nacho Libre. So.
Power!
That's
stands
right.
alone against Zed's monster, which moves at the same pace as a slug, which is why Tommy, of course, can't get away from him. However, Goldar takes over and taunts Tommy a bit with a slideshow, obviously a punishment far worse than losing his powers. He demands that Tommy
right here
acknowledge
is where
him
you
as his
lost.
superior, leading to this.
You are out of your mind.
That music.
Tommy re-enters Zed's dimension.
Cut to
and
Civil
shatters
War.
the crystal,
Couldn't have done that earlier.
restoring powers for one last battle and getting the Dark Rangers out of their ridiculous outfits. To make a long and confusingly dumb battle short, they beat the monster, and there's a trite, ludicrous wrap-up with the jackass teens who apparently only needed friends to stop being assholes.
fresh fruit.
Because that makes so much sense, especially when the 5 of them are friends. If it seems like I'm being harsher on this one, it's only because as a conclusion to the Green Ranger story, it feels very rushed. There was a ton of build-up throughout the season leading up to this two-parter that has enough ideas in it to last for
Finn. You
3 or
know, if you
4
whitewash this fence with
but
me.
instead, it wasn't a satisfying conclusion, especially with the possibility of never
Could
seeing
have
Tommy
10
again.
Power
Some
Rangers.
good follow-up comes in the next episode, Missing Green, with Jason lamenting the fact that if he had gotten the green candle last season,
I'll just kick him.
Tommy would still have his powers. Zed, striking inspiration once again, creates candles for the other
Oh, here you go.
characters,
Yeah.
though why he doesn't
Oh, they were candles, that's right.
Jason escapes me, to drain their powers as well. Of course, this doesn't make any sense given the explanation for how the candle drained Tommy's powers after having touched it and blah blah blah, but it makes for drama. Jason defeats the monster of the day and then saves the other Rangers, and Tommy writes a letter to Jason telling him not to worry about it. While I will say that Tommy's development came
Dear
at the
Casey.
expense of most of the other Rangers,
Dear
it
Casey.
did set up an excellent story.
Once
arc that
upon a
could keep
time.
viewers coming back, and the next
This one's going out to Jason and Angel Grove.
next stage of that came a couple episodes later, the two-parter White Light. Kimberly gets a letter from Tommy that says he's coming back, having left to go be on his own after having lost his powers, and so everyone's all excited and happy for that. At the same time, Zordon and Alpha mysteriously vacate the command center. In addition, Tommy gets teleported away after taking a swim, with the implication being that Lord Zed is responsible.
Yeah.
Zed also begins transforming a statue into his new monster. And because that wasn't enough plot, Rita's trash can lands back on Earth. Because Zed's got a really bad pitching arm, considering he was trying to send it to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Hulk and Skull find it and take it back to their workshop to try to get it open, hoping that it'll reveal the secrets
It's
of
a
the Power
time
Rangers.
capsule.
After getting defeated by the monster, who's also able to split into 3 different beings, Billy locates the secret entrance to a hidden chamber of the command center and discovers that Zordon and Alpha are constructing a new Ranger. He tells the others, and while at first aghast that it was kept from them and they don't know who the new Ranger is, they eventually realize that they could use the help. So this is why both Richie and Curtis were really invented. Candidates
Throw
for
it
the White
off.
Ranger.
Yeah.
By introducing other characters that let there actually be a possibility it'd be someone who the audience has seen, but not necessarily Tommy. After
It's
all,
an
why
android.
give screen time to these guys otherwise? And I've got to admit,
They're
when there started to
building
be
a
promotional
Ranger.
material
Did you
about
not
it,
hear them?
You're gonna have to wait. Well, shush. That's a big reveal in a later season. Never mind.
I actually thought it'd turn out to be Richie. Richie, not the White Ranger, but a red herring. So Zordon and Alpha bring in the team and show them the White Ranger.
His
One
teeth.
masks to reveal Tommy. This is one of the best scenes in the show's history, and while it's very simple, it's handled with the grandiose nature that
I know. That shot of him.
like an angel. It's pretty damn cool. Tommy is given a new weapon, the Sword Saba, who can even speak to him, and that he'll be piloting the White Tiger Zord. They, of course, make quick work of Zed's monster and put Rita back in her garbage can before she can dump Logan's skull into the Power Rangers out. They send her back into space so she'll never be a threat again.
Right.
Making Tommy the White Ranger was once again a stroke of genius for the writers. They could advance his story, make him a permanent part of the cast, and the White Ranger costume, while taken from Die Ranger, looked just similar enough to match the show.
Yeah.
Plus, his Zord was from the Sentai that the Thunder Zords were from.
It helped he had a
so they
shield.
didn't have to keep
Yes.
relying
And it had the
on
gold
same
kind of
reused
pads,
stock footage
almost.
all the time. And they finally got a shield for him that wasn't made of cheap cloth. A minor note from all of this is that Zed also reveals the nature of the Morphin grid a bit more, saying that it's maintained by the balance of good and evil fighting one another. Or in particular, he and Zordon.
The Force.
Very Joss Whedon-esque. Sadly, we never see any expansion on this. The Morphin grid itself
Is there a
being
rule of
one
two?
of the biggest mysteries in the entirety of the show, since it's mentioned multiple times over the next 20 years, but never explicitly.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's
Zed's
Anakin and
explanation is the
Padme.
closest we ever get. Shortly thereafter, a different
giant
subplot
tick in the
begins.
background.
There's some international peace conference, and they're looking for 3 teenagers with attitude to represent, Angel Grove, I guess, at the conference. The group ponders briefly the all-too-real possibility of what would happen to the team if they were...
Tommy walks up. All right, mateys,
In
shut the
building to that,
fuck
there's a three-parter called
I'm trying to remember. This was pre-Saved by the Bell, wasn't it?
Adam, Aisha, and Rocky.
This was
They're from
post
Stone
Saved by the
Canyon,
Bell.
the neighborhood
Maybe the
of
college
Grove.
years.
No, I'm just saying the whole-
And are going to be facing off in
the whole
a
similarities
ninja
with the whole
tournament against
gatherings.
3 arrogant ninjas. However, there's one thing in
Sorry, Roman
particular
Reigns,
I
calm
have
down.
First rule of
because
ninja.
it's a
Don't talk about
constant
ninja.
demonstration of something awesome, but also of just how ludicrous this show can get. There is a full 3.5-minute sequence of a baby carriage going down a hill. Bear in mind that the average episode of Power Rangers, counting both theme song and ending theme, lasts about 20 minutes. A good chunk of the
For
episode
commercials'
is
sake, too.
devoted to the sequence. And it is one of the most absurd things ever to happen on the show. And yes, that counts the rad bug. First of all, this must be the biggest hill in the country because the stroller goes
It's a
down
Jonah
during
hill.
the entire 3-minute sequence.
Oh, come on.
Secondly,
I get that. No, I'm just saying, just the fact that he... Let me grab my helmet. Grab the cart, you dummy.
Oh, that's not-
That these teens at the peak of physical health can't catch up to it. And even if it somehow did,
On the
it
grass.
goes onto the grass. It would slow it down immensely.
Here comes the tree.
Speaking of the grass, my next point. The editing on this sequence is terrible. They don't even try to speed up the carriage footage to make it look like it's going faster than it is, making it even sillier that nobody can catch up to it.
Oh,
The
no.
people of Angel Grove are apparently the dumbest pack of nitwits ever to inhabit a town. People keep jumping out of the way of the carriage.
Let me move the
even when
hat
they're
so you can keep rolling.
Stop the carriage.
'Cause that's what's in the
Put out
script.
front of it and stop it.
Baby's
What are
day
they
out.
afraid of? That the carriage will run them over? Plus, there's the fact that nobody seems willing to
Was,
try and help, except
was
for a
that on
bunch of
Ghostbusters?
teenagers.
What?
Hell,
Was
an
that on
older couple
Ghostbusters?
doesn't even look
The
up.
3 Men and the Baby? With the baby stroller?
Yeah, it was the opening of Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, where she's arguing about the groceries.
Yeah, and then...
And because she asked the super to help carry groceries up to her apartment. I'm not saying that has happened in my life. But
I'm not the super, I'm the all right. Now leave me alone.
it just inches away. And she's like, mid-sentence, she's like... She goes back, and Oscar goes... or however baby speaks. And... That's my carriage! And then it was like, whoa, a carriage! And then they just watch it keep going. Into oncoming traffic.
That's right.
When people are jumping all around them. This and the dirt bike charity event at the beginning of the season really paint a picture about this city. The teenagers are the only competent people living here.
And they can
Let's
fly.
face it, it's a very long time before we finally see a police officer in this town.
That's
The
true.
military never steps in to fight the monsters. It's expected that the Power Rangers will do it for them.
Should've been a pane of
And
glass.
they're the only ones to help out with charity and general cleanup. My God, these people deserve to be
Okay, I was like, are they
supported.
showing these scenes out of order? Because, like, okay, Power Rangers, Bulk and Skull, then comes the baby by the old people.
They get to the cliff, it's like... And the baby slowly comes back.
Suckers!
He is fun.
Exactly.
Oh, by the way, I'm sitting this in the middle now. So if somebody has something to say and they can clearly understand us, please hit the X button to pause.
Just to top off the absurdity, they only finally reach the baby.
And they stop when it's...
Cliff by doing complicated flips that would more likely just slow them down as get them in close enough. However, there is in fact one good thing about this sequence. When it passes by Bulk and Skull, while Skull reacts with the same stupidity as the rest of the citizens of Angel Grove, Bulk takes one look at the stroller, realizes what's happening, and chases after it. He doesn't say he wants a reward. He doesn't say it to trick someone. He doesn't need to be guilted into it. He sees a child in danger, and he leaps into action. I'll get into that more when we talk about Bulk and Skull for the season. That is why
So maybe Bulk should have been the White Power Ranger?
Awesome.
Hey, you know...
After the arrogant
never
ninjas
know.
are taken down, the 3 new teens get kidnapped by Zed to make them work for him. Kind of an expansion of his Dark Rangers idea. While they work on escaping, the Rangers fight stock footage. Okay, this three-parter really drags. Made no better when the team keeps having to be called back and forth.
It's the same
flying
shot
directly.
again.
More or less, due to some contrivances, they discover the Rangers' identities, and we learn that Jake...
His real name is Peter Parker.
Take off the helmets. What the fuck?
What?
Okay. So, I don't know how much you know about the early lore of this show. Actually, the first episode. There's 3 rules that you have to follow. Don't get them wet.
Never feed him after midnight.
Wait, that's the wrong set of rules. Don't use your powers for personal gain.
Standard superhero lore.
Don't do something else.
Don't do anything.
Don't do anything. Don't do anything. Don't do anything.
Never let them know who you are.
Yes, that's the most important one they say. Or lose the protection of the power.
Oh, they would take it back.
Big blue floating head says, never reveal your identity or have it revealed because you will lose. Sorry, everybody. The protection of the power. You can take that last rule
Suck mid-fight.
and punt it out the window from here on out.
Zach and Trini are the teenagers selected to go to the peace conference. Although you're really
No, the sad part is they were already shit canned from the show, so they just showed their pictures.
In the city.
And when the plane crashes, in memoriam.
They're surprised as everyone else when it happens. We're also introduced to Tor, the Shuttle Zord. Tor can
Love
Tortoise.
Zords
The
and
love
fish
tortoise.
join with the other Zords to land and crush a monster. I'm dead serious here.
So's the
Zed reveals
monster.
that he can sometimes
Shinron!
stop the Rangers with the
That's why I love
introduction of
Tor.
Serpentera, a gigantic Zord that could devastate an entire planet when fully charged. Its primary weakness
Death
was
Star.
that it apparently only runs on 3 AAA batteries, so its power runs out pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
In order to make sure that Zed doesn't strike with Serpentera while the 3 are at the peace conference, the Rangers travel
Got
to
my
a deserted
diploma.
planet, because as it turns out,
You done graduated, boys.
planets.
You are
The
full-fledged
retreat
Power
of the
Rangers.
Zords now object-
Congratulations, you are now a VR trooper. God damn it.
Adam, Aisha, and Rocky. Zed travels in Serpentera.
Yeah, that's a
after them to
cool
make sure
shot.
they can't
Because the
transfer
Zords,
powers,
yeah.
Though one wonders why
They are
he doesn't
this
use
big.
Serpentera to annihilate the Earth in their absence. Still, Serpentera is given a strong introduction here just to show off its destructive power. The Rangers manage to get the sword.
One land,
before
one
the
king.
Zed completely annihilates the planet. I'm just saying, sure, you can have your Death Stars or your Unicrons, but the villain of this show made
My
his
wrist.
planet-destroying weapon a giant dragon.
Shake weight.
He's up here doing
Jason, Zach, and Trini. When I originally made this video, there really wasn't any confirmation about why the 3 left, but now we can confirm that it wasn't
It was
for a peace conference.
Specifically, the main cast was paid pretty poorly. Austin St. John said in an interview that he could have basically worked at McDonald's and gotten the same amount of pay. What's more, the show was not a union production, and it was felt among some of the cast
No
that,
comment.
you know, since they were pulling very long, hellish hours and not getting paid very well for it, that they should at least have that going for them. Unfortunately, the negotiations
Silverhorn.
well, and they decided to end
Flash the word
contract.
same.
None of the actors ever said about having done Power Rangers, but it's still sad that that's why they had to leave. What's worse is that because these contract negotiations were happening in the middle of the season, they hadn't quite filmed sequences with them yet. In fact, all the episodes that feature Rocky, Adam, and Aisha are basically stock footage of Jason, Trini, and Zach, and really bad dubbers. The 3 new teens, well, they pretty much filled the roles that they replaced. Don't get me wrong, they were good choices. Unlike the guest stars, who would either be wooden or overact, these 3 were very convincing in their parts.
I'll fight these monsters.
Knowing the identities of the others while still being helpful allowed them to really show their stuff.
At that moment, you lost half your 4-H camp.
Oh my God, it's the Sandster. Here's your special guest. Yes. And he gets everywhere.
It's so irritating.
There were some cosmetic differences. For example, Adam wasn't exactly teaching hip-hop keto with his classes. Aisha fills in Trini's role of best friend to Kimberly, and, well, that's it. Billy had developed enough that he didn't need technobabble explained anymore, and Rocky was there. He wasn't bad, I remind you. He was just
there.
And, of course, there was the episode where
Rocky just
wanted to have fun.
Pachinko machine, yep.
I really think we need to get back to our math.
Well, then go study then, Brainiac. I'm having fun.
Oh, and there's also this silly thing introduced.
No one wins at Pachinko
where the Rangers are
in any country.
Flying. So I don't see the point since they
Can teleport.
It was not a thing that lasted very long.
Same thing with
and
Wonder
the only
Woman.
thing to really come from this is an amusing Vulcan skull bit
In
where they try to build
some
jetpacks to
redone,
keep up with the
Wonder
Rangers.
Woman can fly.
Furthering a point I'll be making soon enough. As time went on,
The
Zed
plane-
started to resemble more and more
If you
in
can
terms of
fly,
strategies.
why the plane?
Sure, on occasion there was
And
some
why
innovative
invisible?
thinking,
You can see
like
you.
back in time to before the teens became
Tell the
Rangers
truth.
and making them children, but he started making
You
bad
can't
jokes.
handle
the truth.
He'll get them next time. Blaming his minions for the failures of
Thank
his
you,
monsters.
Gadget.
He was sad. Zed was supposed to be the badass villain.
Well, he's got those
He was
metal
getting
things.
bumped by the
He's just gonna
teenagers
destroy
on a
that
regular
cat.
basis. He hadn't had a real victory since the Green Ranger powers were lost. A 3-parter, however, came in near the end of the
Take your
season
helmet
to
off.
shake
Now
things
I
up.
have a headache.
The Repulsa returned once more, but this time she had a real plan.
And a
The
very-
teens were on a trip to Australia because they were also filming Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie there, while Zed goes into a deep sleep to rejuvenate himself. Rita lands back on the moon and contacts Finster, getting him to restore her to her proper
Make me
size.
grow!
She gives herself a makeover on the pretense of making herself look young again, when really it's just to actually give her an
Can't shine that turd. I'm sorry.
Alpha, who's conveniently outside for a moment, is attacked by putties and a disc planted inside him to make him evil.
Oh my
I gotta
God.
say,
33 days of
Evil
AOL.
Alpha. He's openly insulting Zordon and cracking jokes. He's just a hoot. I've got to imagine the writers were just having a blast with this episode.
Let's see what a little color will do for you.
This is no time for fun and games, Alpha. Get these flowers off
How
me.
about a little hair? Oh, yeah.
Obviously, you malfunction.
Evil Alpha makes the Rangers teleport to an abandoned theater in Angel Grove,
So
where
you
for
take
some
that and
reason
just,
their powers will be
trim in
limited. I don't know,
Max
maybe
Headroom
an ancient
into the
material
wall.
or something. The
You need to
second phase of Rita's plan
morph.
is a love potion that she puts into Zed's tubes, making him fall in love with her. Finster, in the meantime, recreates old monsters to send into the theater to attack the Rangers. While the Rangers try to find a way out of the theater, Rita and Zed prepare to get married, with a wedding ceremony quickly put together, much to Goldar's irritation. When the Rangers do finally escape from the theater, they fight some stock footage before Alpha teleports them right back in again. Most of the monsters
Nope.
go to attend the wedding, leaving 2 monsters who are easily defeated with the power of Annette. Rita and Zed go off in Serpentera while Goldar leads the remaining monsters in a charge against the escaping Rangers and the Commanders.
And they shall come to
After
the ark
bringing
2
Alpha
by
from his
2.
reprogramming, the Rangers bring out their Zords to fight an army
I was thinking
of
the
stock
AT-AT.
footage. This is really just a fucking fight, highlighting the problem of not
Katie.
having the Zord suits. We finally have an all-out brawl against several giant monsters, and it's all clearly from different sources. So the monsters are defeated, and Zed and Rita bicker. Now, people have criticized the marriage of Zed and Rita, but I'll give my thoughts on that.
Just married, started bickering.
However, I would like to point out this very fun bit from
I
the
criticize
episode
it.
where Zed wants to make Kimberly his queen. Yeah, I'm not sure whose idea that was either. And Goldar tries to put her under a spell to do such a thing. And whose outfit does she end up in? Rita's, of course. Let's watch the fun.
This was a wrinkle. I deserve better. What are you looking at? You used to be kneeling.
Zed's ideal mate is Rita. Huh.
It was Agatha all along.
The show had received from parents about how frightening Zed was to their children. Then again, he's a villain,
snizzard.
so he's supposed to be frightening, so I'm not sure what they were expecting. The rest of the season is multi-parters, so I'll just give my brief thoughts on each. Return of the Green Ranger has the fight that really had to happen at some point.
Yeah.
An evil clone of Tommy made into the Green Ranger to fight the White Ranger. What drags it down is that the rest of the Rangers are sent back in time to the late 1700s. It's not particularly convincing.
Charged with witchcraft.
There's just the sense of cheapness I get from looking at it. Maybe it's the fake British accent.
Or
Maybe it's the Spirit Halloween costume mask.
Or
maybe it's the friggin' rat costumes. Those rat. Compounding matters is the stock footage of the
How did,
Dragon Sword. The
that was
last
bulk.
time we'll ever see it.
How do you get there?
Though the fights between the Green and
so in this show, more often than not, wherever there's time travel shenanigans,
There are doppelgangers.
ancestors. So even though
I'll give you that.
well, it gets a little,
White Rangers are
when it gets to the show called Time Force,
fun. The clone of Tommy, after turning good, is left in the 17th century with his powers intact.
Sure.
This could explain a plot hole way later on in Power Rangers Megaforce, but that's neither here nor there, and it really doesn't deserve any real thought anyway. A standalone between the multi-parters is best man for the job. The main plot is pointless, aside from some genuine amusements.
You're useless. Let me handle this before you get hurt. Yes, me, arrogant airhead.
that is good stuff. I like that.
Who's the blockhead? You're out of your mind. Can't take competition. Excuse me. Talking to Mr. Runner-Up here.
No, what's actually interesting about this is that maybe it's just my copy, but it looks like they may actually have new original Zord fight footage. I don't know if they're models or suits, but damn, does it look refreshing.
They're the suits.
Storybook Rangers is a two-parter that really should have just been only one. The only thing that saves it is, of course, Bulk and Skull. Wild West Rangers, however, expanded upon some previously established story ideas.
That's why I told you this, because we're going back.
Back in time to try to annihilate Angel Grove before the Rangers ever came around. Kimberly's teleportation signal gets trapped in the time hole, and she gets sent to Angel Grove during the Old West. Naturally, the Rangers' ancestors look exactly like them, with similar names. Also, this is in spite of the fact that some of those Rangers came from Stone Canyon and not Angel Grove. Although a nice touch is that the white stranger that is Tommy's ancestor has
The hat.
a stripe in his hat. What does
that's good.
stretch the premise thin is Ernie's Juice Saloon. I'm sorry, but a Wild West town would not have
It must have been a dream. You were there? You and you.
Oh, the vapors. My.
As established in the first season, the command center has been standing for thousands of years, so Kimberly is able to teleport there and get help. In a nice nod to continuity, Kim establishes that while Rita may have the Green Ranger coin, they still have the other power coins. Now, the interesting thing about this is that Rita and Zed have established in previous episodes that Zordon has created Power Rangers before, and this is such an instance. There have been Power Rangers in the past, and not necessarily the Mighty Morphin team, especially because, as we really learn
Good
next
thing you're all
season,
wearing colored
they did
clothing.
not create the power coins. They found them. Amusingly, Zordon says this about the pink power coin.
You already have the energy from your pink coin. Too much pink energy is dangerous.
I'll just let that thought simmer. She gives the coins to the ancestors of her friends, which, while I'm sure makes sense to her, makes no sense from an actual logic standpoint. Her friends in the future have studied martial arts because of the people they are and the time period they're from. In the past, the teens are not martial arts experts.
All the Rangers
Also,
morphing from a radio.
They're good.
Oh no, radio wasn't
singers.
even invented.
Parents for Power Rangers too?
Oh,
So yeah,
God,
the
that's
and Kim goes back to the future.
That's
It's a fun
hideous.
two-parter, even though the space-time continuum just got repeated
I don't know what's worse, the scarf or the
season,
boots.
however, does not
I was waiting for one of them to grab the coin.
Instead, it's a
Big old shiny elephant.
where a statue of Billy made by Billy Love Interest number 17 gets turned into an evil copy. Subsequently, this is like the 5th or 6th time we've had an evil Billy, usually through mind control. And it's like the 80th time that one of the team has acted strangely, and yet the Rangers don't immediately immediately seize upon the idea of, say, maybe this is part of
Stupid
Regan's
puberty.
plan. The episode
We'll let
frankly
Billy have
feels
his
like
day.
it's from
A
earlier in the
nerd.
show, and it's really not worthy of ending out the
You
season.
study Brainiac, I'm having fun.
Hey, Billy, what's your problem? And no, he says something, and they're walking away. It's like, Billy, what's your problem? And they all turn to look at Billy, and he's like, kids, that's a Revenge of the Nerds joke. If you don't know what Revenge of the Nerds is, I can't help you.
Assembling a subplot, Angela and Zach going on a date. Hell, it's a favorite of mine since Zach was my favorite of the originals, and that episode had Tommy let him use his shield. Here, we've got a statue of Billy accidentally commissioned by Bulk and Skull since they wanted one exemplifying the Rangers, and one love interest lady made it. Speaking of the true heroes of the franchise, Bulk and Skull's subplot about finding the Rangers' true identities grows them in a rather subtle manner. In the first season, well, they were idiots through and through. They could barely read, they got detention constantly, but then again, Angel Grove High is some sort of totalitarian state where getting bad grades somehow lands you detention, and I'm being dead serious here. And they'd constantly find ways to make complete asses of themselves, even if they were entertaining ones. Whereas here, while their bumbling nature remains, a good chunk of the plans they come up with to find the true identities of the Rangers
That's a pig snout.
are actually pretty damn clever. It's basic forensic science. They get footprints. They get recordings of the Rangers' voices. They stage attacks. Well, okay, this one's not so clever since they can't duplicate the look of any monsters or the putties, but the fact that they thought of it shows some higher level thinking. Hell, while most episodes it's Bulk who comes up with a plan to find the Rangers, there's one episode where Skull has actually done research and correlated the data to figure out who would be a Ranger. Mind you, this leads them to the incorrect conclusion
That box of pies
Bernie
had
being
pie
a
charts in
Ranger,
them.
but it shows them going above and beyond the Call of Duty and what was expected of the character.
Ernie, Juice Boy, you're a Ranger.
It shows that the two aren't just one big punchline about how being a bully is wrong. The truth is that the two are competent at what they do when they're actually driven to achieve their goals.
My Ranger
In fact,
detective.
some of the time, the reasons their plans fail isn't because the plans are bad, but because the Rangers screw them over. For example, in the aforementioned footprint episode, they managed to get a cement cast of the footprints, but the Rangers make everyone in the juice bar go out onto the dance floor, and a smack by Skull makes Bulk drop the cement block, shattering it. There's also an instance where they found a videotape that was a recording while the Rangers fought in the park, capturing
Man, I'm gonna fuck the.
and while they stupidly
No.
watch the tape themselves first, the plan is foiled because the Rangers, dicks that they are, take the tape away and switch it out. Now, admittedly, yes, they supposedly need to hide their identities.
What do you call it? It's,
but
Fast
And yes, I'm bleeping it out.
Fast Times at Ridgemont
Read it
High.
and know who they are. And yes, there is a risk of their private lives being screwed over by everyone knowing that, but they're already well-known figures. 3 of them went to a peace conference. But even if they didn't want their identity
How to
in the
karate.
wider world, there's still the issue of simple logic. Bulk and Skull spend pretty much a year on this, and they get really damn close
Or
a
a
few
day
times.
with,
Eventually,
King
they're
Cat.
gonna find out
In the-
whether
in the
you
beloved
like it or
room.
not. In some of those cases, they just happen to
Hey,
luck
Mr.
out that they were
Popo.
there when they were going to present their
Can I go in your
evidence.
special
Otherwise,
closet?
They would be screwed.
Eighth roll
In
of
fact,
Popo's
the only
training.
reason Their determination doesn't eventually get their identities outed is because next season the two decide to stop trying to find out their identities. Really, they could just reveal to the two who they really are and get them to stop. Now, wouldn't that have been an interesting twist? Instead of them having to figure out who the Rangers are,
Keep
they
it.
instead have to cover for the Rangers, be their secret ally, and take the fall for them. That would present some interesting story opportunities. Like
Have you seen Tommy? He has AIDS.
Get all the success fame while they have to clean up their messes. Hell, they just step further with their character development and make the two realize what jerks they've been. That for all their bullying behavior, they've accomplished nothing with their lives, while the goody goods that they've always insulted ended up becoming
Boy, you
superheroes.
realize you don't work
But
for the
still,
football
what
team.
did
Get
happen
off my
to the two?
field.
We got to see some different sides to Bulk and Skull here. Last time I talked about their true nature shining.
Well, wait a minute.
That for all the selfish behavior that the two display, they do in fact have aspirations of being good guys.
I hope he brings
this
up.
season, we see that taken a step further, and 2 incidents that really made me love these characters. The first was the part I mentioned from that idiotic chase scene for the baby.
Well, the second has to be
also
the-
taking care of the baby later due to plot contrivances.
The prism.
The second Well, let me tell you something. Countdown to Destruction is considered by many to be Bulk and Skull's finest moment.
Yeah.
But there is a very
This has gotta be
close
it.
second for me that no one ever seems to bring up. In the episode,
Yep.
When is a Ranger Not a Ranger, a monster scrambles the memories of
When he's a door.
Bulk and Skull during a stakeout in a field.
Oh, excuse me. When is a door not a door? When it's a jar.
They found out who they are.
The wheels turning in their heads as they realize they've been played all this time. After the monster finishes erasing the Rangers' memories, the two spot prisms that the team plan to use to restore their memories. And for the first time in 2 years and 91 episodes, Bulk and Skull don't run away from a monster, but stand up and face it head on.
Yeah.
Not so fast, buckaroo. What? Who said that? Who are you? Don't force me to destroy
Hey,
your
yo.
minds as well. Draw. You yellow-bellied skunk.
Of course, with a monster that screws with memories, they of course forget who the Power Rangers are, but it was the comic relief duo that saved the day. After all, it's one thing to be brave when you got powers, good looks, and the uncanny
They
ability
tried
to do
to
15
save us.
things at once and be loved by all. But it's an entirely different matter to be the underdog, not the smartest or best in shape, and still
It's like
stand up to
Hercule.
evil. Hot damn, these two rock. While the trainee and Richie Subplots
Well, I beat him, of course.
generally moved closer together and
Did you,
cemented
though?
the fact that they were in a
Did you?
relationship. We'd see them frequently going on dates, exercising together, and buying gifts. They really had good chemistry, and I'd like to think that they ended up
Pushes him in the water.
despite some stuff we're going to be seeing in later seasons.
Well.
Zed had a very different
Really?
approach to combating the Rangers, and I don't just mean the stronger monsters. Zed is continually trying to pull the Rangers apart.
would you do
Mind
that?
control and manipulation to pit them against each other, or at the very least, trying to drain them of their powers. Later, some of his plans revolving around creating his own team of evil Rangers to fight off the team, though that would of course go pretty much unfulfilled, sadly. As time went on, the plans became less elaborate, but still menacing at times. The addition of Serpentera to his arsenal guaranteed a permanent lingering threat, but its
I
lack of
am
power
the
and energy
dragon.
banks became the Achilles heel. While Rita's monsters
What you
were
wish.
crafted, Zed's monster style matched his overall strategy when dealing with the Rangers. You would pervert something good or innocent and turn it evil, also investing a personal stake in the Rangers if the
This horn's almost done.
something that mattered to them. That meant that the Rangers would frequently
Salt
worry
Bay
about
pudding.
combating the monster without damaging the thing they cared about. The season also continued the idea of magic versus technology.
Next thing you know, you got an evil Louis Armstrong.
Fight Zed's spells or the monster's abilities.
I should have known. Science and monsters don't mix.
Zed was obviously a more adept magic
And you
user than
shouldn't
Rita.
fight a
While
monster
Rita used
until
both
30 minutes after eating.
cast spells
Nobody told this guy that.
Zed's spells and powers
Okay,
could be
never mind.
utilized with either a single phrase or just by willing it to happen with his staff. It's easy to see why Rita was suddenly intimidated by him and was lower in the food chain compared to his power. Also, Rita's plans tended to fall more on the petty side of things. For example, there was an episode where Kimberly was working on a model of a float to promote peace on Earth and all that junk. She sends down a squad of putties to wreck the model of the float so that the real float
Blame it
can
on
be built.
Tommy.
Yes, she sends her stormtroopers down just to make Kimberly feel bad. Zed, conversely, simply used the teenager's situations to inspire him on new monster designs and how to split the team apart and destroy themselves.
These
He
aren't
had
the putties
goal
you're
of
looking for.
conquest and directly saw the Rangers' continued existence as an obstacle to overcome. However, his failure to defeat them was also a constant reminder of Rita. Bear in mind that he disposed of Rita.
She reminds me of something.
And
Oh, I
seeing
can't
that he
stand
wasn't
that
doing any
woman.
better must have been quite the blow to his ego. After all, he's the Emperor. He shouldn't have to dirty his own hands in dealing with his enemies. However, as we'll see next season, he would have been a force to be reckoned with if he had ever directly engaged the Rangers. If I could describe this season in a single word, it'd be change. While this season had plenty of filler, the status quo had
Yeah, we don't have any.
chance to get shaken up. From the start of the season when Lord Zed arrives, to Tommy becoming the White Ranger, to the power transfer, to Rita's introduction, things were in a
Shut
state
up,
of
brain.
flux. The show was relying less and less on Sentai footage, but that also meant that they were running out of Sentai footage to use. Change would come even more substantially next season.
Oh yeah. 2 parts. All right. So we'll get into season 3, part 1 next time.
The three different beings. Billy
What?
I said next time.